Hi, it's Megan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 20-ish tips when it comes to saving money on your groceries and when it comes to meal planning. I find that those things really do go hand in hand. If you want to save money on your groceries, you really have to meal plan and stick to your meal plan. And that's been kind of like the biggest way that I've been able to save so much money on our groceries and how we have been able to stick to a pretty low budget for a family of four, even with all of the price increases on like everything. So let's get started. First, I'm going to start with sharing some tips for grocery shopping and groceries. Okay, my first tip is to make sure that you know your prices and maybe keep a price notebook. I've done a video about this before, which I can link up in the iCloud and down in the description box. But basically, a price notebook is just a notebook or a note on your phone where you keep track of things that you frequently buy and then how much those items cost at different stores. So doing your price checking when you're making your grocery lists and when you're doing your shopping and purchasing those grocery items at their lowest prices at different stores is what's going to save you a lot of money. It does take a lot of time, but the more that you do it, the quicker it becomes. And now I just know like good prices on most things. And so I don't have to like really be keeping track too much. I might do a quick comparison between a couple stores for like less frequent items that I don't buy super often, but it has saved me so much money to know which stores have the items that I need at the lowest prices. And my next tip goes along with that, and that's to make sure that you are shopping at multiple stores. Now, this is kind of tricky because you have to decide if it's worth like the gas money to get to other places, or if you have stores that are fairly close together, or if you can combine your trips to, if you're going to the post office and there's a certain grocery store that's near the post office or something like that, then it might be worth it to be shopping at multiple grocery stores. But in a lot of cases, if you're able to, shopping at multiple stores will help you save a lot of money because you can, like I mentioned before, you can get the lowest prices on items at specific stores. I'm lucky and like across the street from me, I have a Kroger store and a Walmart is just up the street from there. So those two are very close together. And then I have a Sam's Club that's like a 5 or 10 minute drive away. And that's on my way to my daughter's preschool. And so I'm passing by there often. So it's easy to go there when I need to. And then I have a Costco that's about 10 minutes the opposite direction. And I go down there not quite as often, but there's a lot more shopping and other things down there. So if I'm running other errands, it's easy to get down there to that Costco. So I'm able to shop at multiple stores. And again, another way that has saved us a lot of money on our grocery budget. My third tip is to utilize grocery store pickup. Now, I only recommend doing this if you can get it for free. So I know Walmart and Kroger both do it for free if you meet a $35 minimum. And at Sam's Club, if you're a Plus member, you can get it for free. Costco currently doesn't have a pickup where I live. I've heard of them doing it in some places, but where I live, they don't have that. They do have Instacart, but if you're using Instacart, they are marking up the prices. So the prices on the app are going to be higher than they are in store. And then you often do have a delivery fee and a tip as well. But at Walmart and Kroger, and then I have a Plus membership at Sam's Club. And so those three stores, I definitely utilize the pickup. And that's great because you can put the items in your cart that you are wanting and needing, and you can see your total as you're going through. So I just put in one of my weekly orders, was a little bit higher than I usually spend because there were lots of really good deals at Smith's, my Kroger store. And so I put that into a pickup order. And I saw that I was quite a bit higher than I actually wanted to spend. So if I'd been just shopping in the store, I would have just bought all the items and I would have just paid that. But because I was using the pickup order feature, I kind of could see how much my total was going to be. And I was able to take some things off that I probably didn't actually need, or I would be fine to wait until those went on sale again to kind of bring my bring that grocery trip down to a lower amount. So another tip is to shop weekly sales. This is especially good at your local grocery stores like your Smith's, your Albertsons, your Hy-Vees, like those kinds of places will often have weekly sales. So look for those things, and if you know your prices, you'll know which things are actually good deals. And I go into my Smith's weekly to utilize those deals, and I pretty much only get those deals at my Smith's because it's cheaper to get other things at some of the other grocery stores around me. In addition to shopping for weekly sales, you can also, my next tip is to look for clearance items. I've seen these at Walmart and at my Kroger store, where they just have certain areas of the store that have clearance items, specifically grocery items. And that's another way that I've been able to get really good deals on things like meat and dairy, and as well as like shelf stable items as well. Just make sure that you check the dates on things and make sure that you're going to be able to use it or freeze it before those best by or expiration dates. Another thing is to use digital coupons. I know at my Kroger store, they have really, really good digital coupons a lot of times, where you just have to get the app or make an account and you can load those digital coupons onto your card. So you don't even have to like clip anything out or hand them over to the cashier. You can just load them onto your loyalty card and then they automatically come off when you are checking out. And that's how I get those really good prices on a lot of my items from Smith's, is from those weekly digital coupons. Also, another thing you can do to save money is you can use rewards apps. Like I use Ibotta and Fetch, and I have links to both of those down in the description box if you are interested in trying both of those out. Ibotta, you purchase things and they give you money back, like in a rebate form, and then when you hit a certain threshold, you can cash that money out, and you can use that to go back into your grocery budget. I often will save up my things for the whole year and use them on Amazon cards or Target gift cards to purchase Christmas presents at the end of the year. And then same thing with Fetch. Fetch, you just scan your receipts. You can also hook up your email to your Fetch account and it will scan for any digital receipts as well. And then you get points for your receipts. You get bonus points if you purchase certain items. And then you can accumulate those points and redeem those for gift cards to a ton of different stores. Another thing that will help with your grocery budget is you have to be willing to cook more from scratch and cook more items from home, and maybe not have as many convenience items. And again, this depends on your time, how valuable your time is. Back when I was in grad school, I definitely paid more for convenience because I didn't have the time to actually cook as many things from scratch. I did still cook a lot from scratch, but I wasn't making my own bread. I wasn't making my own breadsticks. I wasn't making, I was buying more pre-cooked or just other more convenience kinds of items because I just didn't have the time. And we had the room in our budget to spend a little bit more on groceries so that we could have those more convenient items. Whereas now, since I'm out of grad school and I recently started working, but I started recently working as an adjunct professor, but I only have one class a week that I'm teaching right now. And so I still have a lot more time at home. And so I'm able to kind of go back to making a lot of those items from scratch and not purchasing nearly as many convenience or pre-processed items. And that's another thing that will help you stick with your grocery budget. If you stop buying your soda, your chips, your crackers, your cookies, those kinds of things, and work on making those things at home or going without some of them. Now, I know in my last grocery haul, I did purchase a bunch of soda, and that is something that I have for a treat for myself. But I only buy it when it is at the best, lowest sale price. It's not a weekly purchase. You only see it every once in a while in my hauls because I can make that last for quite a few months and won't repurchase it until it is at that lowest, that bottom price. So another way to help with your grocery budget is to build a stockpile and to use what you have in your house. So again, knowing the best prices on items and then stocking up on those items when they are at their lowest price to then keep, so that you can be using those items from your pantry or your freezer or your fridge. So you can be using those items when you bought them at the lowest price instead of needing to purchase them every time you want to make a certain meal that calls for that ingredient. So you guys have seen my pantry. I have a ton of food, a ton of backstock. And in my grocery hauls, as you guys have also seen, a lot of the things that I'm purchasing are to replenish my backstock. You can really say, I bought this to replace my backstock, or my backstock was getting low, so I purchased a few more of these, or I was out of this, so I needed to get more for my backstock. And that is just really helpful to be able to always have those items that I know I'm going to use a lot. And that way, when I'm cooking something that involves one of those ingredients, I can just get it out of my pantry and know that I paid a lower price for it than having to just go to the grocery store that day to purchase that ingredient that I need. Another tip is to stay out of the stores. This is why I love doing my once a month grocery shopping, because I only go into the stores once, especially Costco. I found that if I go into Costco more than once a month, I always make impulse purchases there. And so I know that by limiting my shopping to only going to Walmart or only going to Costco once a month really helps me to stay in my budget. And same with my other things. I put in my big monthly orders at Walmart and at Sam's Club so I can pick those things up. I don't even have to go into the store there. And then I only go back to my local Smiths because they have deals that change every week. And so I go in there and I stick to my list, which is my next tip, is to make a grocery list and really stick to it. Only purchase the things that are on it. So those are kind of some of the main things that help keep my grocery budget pretty low. I haven't mentioned it yet, but my family's grocery budget, we are a family of 4. So it's me and my husband, and then my 2 daughters. My oldest daughter is 5 and my youngest daughter is 1. And we have a monthly grocery budget of $450. And I stick very, very close to that pretty much every month. And it's not a lot. I used to be able to do it for $400, and that was with my youngest daughter, in diapers and formula, which comes out of our grocery budget. She still is in diapers, but she's not drinking formula yet, or she's not drinking formula anymore. So, but I've still had to increase our budget to $450 just because of the increase of all of the prices of everything. So it's definitely doable, but it does take a lot of work and a lot of planning. So kind of another way, one of the biggest ways that you can help save on your grocery budget is to meal plan. If you can't do any of those other grocery saving tips, then please, please, please meal plan. That's going to be one of the biggest things that can really save your budget. So my first tip with meal planning is to know how much you actually need to cook. If it's just you and your spouse or you and your partner, you probably don't actually need to cook like 7 nights out of the week. You're probably going to go out once, or twice. You're probably going to be able to eat leftovers. So I know in my family, at our current state, I really only have to cook about 3 times a week. Sometimes I cook a little bit more depending on if we have people over or we want to make a special meal or something. But I know that I really only have to plan about 3 meals a week. And then we have enough from those 3 meals for leftovers for dinner, in addition to having leftovers for lunches. And then we might go out one night, or we might do like a convenience meal, like a frozen pizza or a boxed mac and cheese or something like that. Or I know I have enough ingredients on hand that I can just make kind of whatever I'm feeling like based on what I have in my house. So kind of the first thing is you just have to know how much you need to actually cook. And so maybe start by just planning a couple of meals a week and then seeing how long you can get, how much you can make those meals stretch. My next one that goes along with, knowing how much you need to cook, is actually plan those nights that you're eating out or that you're going to just do a frozen pizza. If you actually put that into a plan, you'll feel less guilty about, I didn't stick to my meal plan and I just defaulted to, the chicken nuggets for the kids or something like that. So if you actually put those things into your meal plan, you will feel less guilty, and you'll know that this is something that I am planning on doing, and it feels a lot more intentional instead of like, we just have to go out because I didn't have any plans for dinner. Another tip is to make sure you're using your leftovers or freezing your leftovers. Lots of times I will make a double batch of something and then take the extra leftovers, or if we're getting tired of eating it for leftovers, then I'll take what's left and I'll freeze it. And then I already have a meal that's like ready to go that we can use in a couple of weeks. Or if I didn't plan enough meals for that week, I know that I have an extra meal in the freezer that we can just take out and eat. Another thing to make your meal plan successful is you need to know what's happening each night. You need to know if all of your kids have sports practice and you need to eat a little bit later, or if, your husband is going to be out of town, or if you have a meeting or something like that. It really helps to know what your evenings are like, because that will help you make better decisions about what you're actually going to make for dinner those nights. You're not going to want to try a new super involved recipe on a night where you are going to be carpooling back and forth across town a million times. That might be a better night to have like a slow cooker recipe or something that's already been prepared that people can just heat up when they are home. So knowing what's going on is definitely helpful when it comes to your meal planning, because you can make sure that your dinners and the foods that you're preparing are successful. So when you are doing your plans, there's a few different things that might be helpful when you're planning them. And I've used all of these at various times in my life and in various seasons. The first one is to plan around what's on sale. So if you look at your weekly sales ad, if you're going weekly grocery shopping, look at those sales ads and see what is the lowest price. So I know like if I ever saw peppers, like bell peppers on a really good sale, then I had like a handful of recipes that revolved around those peppers that I could make because I knew I'd be getting those at a really good price. Or if you see a certain kind of meat on sale, you can plan your meals around that specific kind of meat. Another way that you can meal plan is to plan around what you already have. So you can look in your pantry, your fridge, your freezer, see what foods you already have and start making meal plans out of those. In the description box below, I'll link some of my favorite people here on YouTube, as well as a few other people on Instagram and some podcasts that I like that do a really good job at kind of showing you how to plan meals based on what you already have in your house. And this is kind of what I do. Mostly I have a rotation of recipes that I know I pretty much always have the ingredients for. And so pretty much most of the things that I choose, I know I'll have the ingredients for, or if that involves a couple of fresh items, I know that I'll be able to pick those up on my weekly trips, or I can purchase it at the beginning of the month if it's something that will last through the whole month and I can use through multiple recipes. So a few other ways that you can, that might help you if you meal plan, if you're getting stuck in your meal plans. One is to have what the Lazy Genius calls a matrix, a meal plan matrix. And this is helpful. This is what I do quite a bit, especially in like the fall and winter. But it's to have each day of the week, or however many meals you're cooking each week, to have a different theme. So you can do like a meatless Monday, a taco Tuesday, a pasta Wednesday, pizza Friday, those kinds of things. So you know that every Friday you're going to have some kind of pizza. Or you know every Monday you're going to have some kind of item that's meatless. Or every Tuesday you're going to have some variation of tacos or some kind of like Mexican dish. And that's just helpful when it comes to planning, because you don't have to make quite as many decisions, because you already know, okay, here's my category. Now what's a recipe that fits into this category? Another thing that you can do is you can plan for 1 or 2 weeks at a time, and then you can just rotate that meal plan so that you know, these are the 2 weeks of meals that we're going to be making for dinner. At the end of those 2 weeks, we're just going to repeat it again and repeat it again and repeat it again. If you're someone who can't make a lot of decisions, or don't have a lot of time, or you have picky eaters, or your family likes only this many meals, you can just make the plan for 2 weeks and then just keep repeating that. And then what I have found to do, which I talked about in my monthly meal planning video a couple videos ago. I'll link that in the iCard in the description as well. But I don't like having to make those decisions about dinner every single week. And so I have been monthly meal planning for a very long time. And it's just so much better for me just to sit down once a month and to plan all of my meals for the month. So I go through and in the fall and winter, every Monday is some kind of soup, just because I know it makes good leftovers that will last for the rest of the week. So I have a different soup every Monday. We have leftovers on Tuesday. Wednesday, I choose something else that can give us leftovers. Friday, I choose some kind of like fun recipe, like some kind of pizza or something easy for us to do at the end of the week. And then over the weekends, I know that we'll have plenty of leftovers, or we can always do breakfast for dinner. And then Sundays, sometimes we're at families, sometimes we invite people over. And so Sundays, I know, is usually going to be a bigger, more involved meal. But though I'm not really too worried about those, because I always have ingredients on hand and I can just make kind of whatever I feel like on a Sunday if we don't have leftovers, or, we want to have people over or something like that. So another thing with your meal plan is you need to plan your breakfasts and lunches as well, not just your dinners, or at least know what you could possibly make based on things you have on hand. I don't actually plan out my breakfasts and lunches. I just know to keep certain things on hand so that we have a variety of options. I have been starting to meal plan with my 5-year-old and have her choose what she wants for breakfast each day of the week and what she wants for lunch each day of the week. And we do that every Sunday night with her. And I have a limited options with little pictures that kind of show her the options that she has. And then she can choose those. And that's just helpful because in the day-to-day, she just had a really hard time making decisions. And so I just decided to try with her once a week, plan out all the things. And that way I know as well, and she doesn't get mad at me when she changes her mind about something, because she's already decided and she knows that's what she's going to have. So that's one way that we have dealt with breakfasts and lunches is she just goes through and chooses things based on things that we always pretty much always have on hand. I know some families just say Monday is this kind of day, Tuesday's this kind of day, Wednesday's this kind of day for breakfasts and or lunches. So that could be another thing too. It's just every Monday you always have grilled cheese. Every Tuesday you always have chicken nuggets. Every Wednesday you always have quesadillas, or it's something like that might be helpful. Another helpful meal planning idea for you. A couple other tips when it comes to your meal planning is to meal prep. So make sure, if you're able to, this is something that really helps me, is to, pre-chop my veggies, make sure my produce gets washed and cut and put in the right kind of containers so that it's ready and accessible. And I found that I'm much more likely to cook the meal if I've already done a lot of the prep work for it. If my meat's already thawed, if, the veggies are already chopped, if the sauce is already made, it's much easier to actually cook that meal when all of those things are already ready. Another tip when it comes to your meal planning is to batch cook or do freezer meals. Again, like I mentioned earlier, lots of times I will cook double of something and then put part of it away in the freezer to have for another meal. And that also helps so that you can, if you have a busy night or don't have time to cook or something, that you have meals in the freezer that you can easily pull out and feed your family with. Another thing when you're meal planning is to find substitutes when you're cooking. If you are planning a meal and you're starting to cook it and you realize you don't have an ingredient, instead of running out to the store, check around your house, check around your pantry and your fridge and your freezer to see if you have some kind of substitute for that ingredient. So an easy one is you can swap out sour cream and plain Greek yogurt. I like to swap out, with whipping cream being so expensive right now, I swap that out a lot for half and half, just because that's a lot. Half and half is significantly less money than whipping cream. You can swap out different kinds of cheeses. You can swap out water for chicken broth, just add a few extra seasonings, those kinds of things. And you can Google or go on Pinterest and find a bunch of substitute lists if you don't know how to substitute something. And then finally, my last tip for meal planning is when you're planning your meals, try to plan meals with similar ingredients to go near each other so you're not wasting ingredients. So if you have a recipe that calls for carrots and celery, and you have to buy a huge bag of carrots and a big head of celery, but you don't have any other meals to use with those, and you know that you won't eat them, like as snacks or something, try to plan another meal that uses both of those ingredients for within the next couple of days or within the next week. So that way you can use those ingredients a second time and you won't have to repurchase them, and you won't just be throwing them away because you never got around to using them. So I know with us, celery and carrots are one those are common ingredients that I like to cook with. And so if I'm purchasing them, I try to make sure that I'm planning multiple meals so that I can use up all of the celery and all of the carrots so they don't just get lost in the back of my fridge and nobody eats them or they don't get used in a recipe. So those are my tips for meal planning, for grocery shopping. Hopefully you can apply some of them and start saving money on your own groceries. I know that it can feel very overwhelming, so don't try to do all of them at once. Start with one or two. I would start with meal planning. That is definitely the biggest one. After you do that, then start, maybe looking for sales, or start by just trying to go into the store once a week. And just start by doing these things one at a time. And once you get more comfortable with those, then you can start adding some of these other ideas. I've been doing this for 10 years, shopping in this kind of way and meal planning like this for 10 years. And so it comes very second nature to me, but it was definitely a lot harder when I first started doing it. So take your time and let me know if you have any other good grocery budget tips or meal planning tips down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.